Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Should You Buy, just another overglorified first impressions video from your host, Anchorman V2, and this week we'll be taking a look at Destiny 2, the sequel to the game that started the 8th generation trend of the MMO light on consoles. Destiny 2 is a first-person MMO shooter following the Guardians protecting the planet from the Red Legion and their ruthless leader Ghaul from attacking and trapping the Traveler. And as usual, for full disclosure, at the time of this recording, I have played over 30 hours of Destiny 2, achieved max level, done a couple of strikes. I have not done the raid yet. I've done a couple missions in the Crucible as well. And now I am not really a big fan of Destiny 1. I didn't really pay anything for Destiny 2. I only really got it because I'm game sharing this game. I did not get early access. And normally MMO lights do not tickle my fancy, so to speak. So keep that in mind when I give you my little review. So, we must ask the eternal question that every gamer must ask themselves: should you buy Destiny 2? In the story, after defeating the Darkness in Destiny 1 and other DLC adventures, Destiny 2 picks up with the Cabal conqueror Ghaul and the Red Legion invading Earth, destroying the tower, capturing the Traveler, and more importantly, taking all your loot from Destiny 1. With your powers gone, loot taken, and the Vanguard scattered to the winds, it is your job to get the gang back together again to rescue the Traveler and take back Earth. Now, in terms of characters, we have the Vanguard here. These were kind of just people in Destiny 1 that were just kind of there. In this case, these are the main guys, the main team that you kind of form the rest of your entire unit on. You have the Vanguard, which consists of Ikora, the Warlock, Cayde 6, the Hunter, and Zavala, the Titan. In this particular game, they are introduced in showcases, giving Ikora, Cayde, and Zavala more of a connection with the player. We see Zavala's courage, Cayde's ingenuity, and Ikora's determination, which makes them seem more like characters than window dressing like in Destiny 1. In terms of villains, we have the Red Legion. While infinitely better than the Darkness, the Red Legion has a clear, defined goal and purpose for their actions. Ghaul is a very menacing character and actually has more depth. It's not the best story, honestly, but it definitely shatters the standards that Destiny 1 set. Now, there's another group called, I refer to them as the Resistance. These are small little faction leaders that litter the worlds with interesting characters like Devrim and Hawthorne, and even everyone's favorite Failsafe. These add more character to the game, honestly. Just Failsafe definitely being the standout. And, just other bad guys who are in here. There's really no rhyme or reason for these guys coming back. The Vex are back. The Hive are back. There's really no reason for them to be here. They just kind of show up, really just kind of have more variety in who you're shooting. That's kind of it for them. So moving on to gameplay. The gunplay in Destiny 2 is definitely the standout thing for this game. This is what people keep coming back again and again and again. It is for that excellent Bungie gameplay for the first-person shooting. This time around, it's more of a platformer aspect to it that Destiny 1 was really lacking. This one's way more interesting. So let's talk about the loot for a minute. In Destiny 1, the vanilla version of Destiny 1, the loot was infinitely bad. It was really stingy. You had a really bad Cryptarch. And since then, they have refined that process down for the last 3 years. Now there's very minimal Cryptarch work. You only go to the Cryptarch if you get a particular engram, but most of the time, whenever you have something drop, you get the actual armor or you get the actual gun. So in some regards, you have kind of like a guaranteed reward system. Like if you do the faction stuff and you get all their tokens and you turn all those tokens in for reputation, you are guaranteed a legendary drop. These are great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. These are things people have been wanting for a very long time. They also added a new thing called Bright Engrams, which drop things like shaders, and we'll get into that for a bit. Certain weapon modifications. There's a lot of different stuff you can kind of work with here. The loot is significantly better. Now, let's talk about mission structure for a moment. In the game, there are story missions, strikes, raids, patrols, things you're used to. But really, the big standout this year is adventures. These are world context kind of missions. You're doing it's another story mission. They're not too intensive. There's no real cutscenes for them per se, but they add more to the story. They add more to the world, so you actually feel like you're doing something as opposed to Destiny 1. It's definitely a lot better. Most of the time, it's more of a open world feel to it. Like you finish one mission, you walk to the next mission. You don't just end it and then teleport back to orbit and then make a decision again later. You can continue mission after mission after mission. It's fun. It's enjoyable. It makes up for a lot of different crap you had to deal with. So, let's talk about the end game for a moment. When you get to level 20, whenever you finish the game, or rather finish the finish the little campaign they put together, You have Crucible missions you can do, public events, which are definitely better, more variety to those as well, and you can actually know when they're going to start. They have light levels now, which is more just an excuse for you to get more bright Ingrams. They had power levels that you're working to build up past level 20. You have faction and reputations you have to worry about, challenges, meditations. There's a lot more to do here, and it's satisfying things to do. You're not just jumping on for an hour and then you're done each night. It's not like that anymore. You actually can spend several hours each night doing something if you're really interested in the game. So moving on to graphics, this game is currently running at 1080p 30 FPS minimum on all consoles. PC will be dropping a couple months from now, and it will definitely have more ability. I know that the PlayStation 4 Pro has a enhanced edition that they're doing. I don't remember the resolution, but it kind of doesn't matter. Definitely the environments are more open world than before. There's a few more characters or more enemies on screen rather. I did not see anything that I thought was definitely more CPU intensive. I don't really see anything that was not warranting of 60 frames per second, which is kind of the standard in 2017 for first-person shooters. Let's talk about the aesthetic aspect of it for a moment. The color work is absolutely stunning. The enemy designs are slightly updated, but definitely still just as great as the first time around. The armor was more shooting for less opulence, like in the first game, and more like a more gritty realism. Like a lot of the starter gear that you get is pretty lame. What you get first coming out of the gate, if you chose a hunter, you can actually just wear jeans, plain jeans. If you're a warlord, you basically got like a burlap sack. If you're starting the game, you're a titan. You're basically wearing football pads. It is not shooting for that over opulence and look at all the crazy stuff you get. There is that still in the game, but that's not what the general vibe that you're getting from it really. The character designs are more simplistic. Think of it kind of in terms of like the jump from like Titanfall 1 to Titanfall 2, where they kind of scaled it back a little bit, where they took a little less of the polygon count there, but they increased the contrast. They increased it so it's a little more timeless as a result. It's more of a future-proof too, because this game has to last not just this year and next year, it has to go 3, maybe 4 years. It has time it has to survive as staying on the cutting edge. Now let's talk about fun factor, probably the most important factor when it comes to my little review things. Overall, I had a really good time playing this game. I really did enjoy it. What I really enjoyed were the new player spaces that you get in the game. It feels lived in. It feels like you're enjoying something, that you're not just in this lofty tower waiting for something to happen. You feel like you're kind of on the ground. You feel like you're interacting. You have these little places where you can feel like, okay, this feels like this could have been something real. There's the open worlds are a little more platforming oriented. I really did enjoy that. The systems are way more simplified now. There's no more Crucible marks and then Vanguard marks and all this weird little stuff. It's just reputation and then glimmer. And it's pretty straightforward. I'm really glad they narrowed it down. Now, this game also had a lot more character moments. You really kind of bond with Cayde and Zavala and Ikora a little bit more. Maybe not as much Ikora, but you get the idea. And I really was digging the more open world structure to it. Like the first game, people said, "Oh, it's an open world game." No, Destiny 1 was not an open world game. Destiny 2, you could get away with that. You could say it is an open world game. It definitely fits that description. It is fun. It is enjoyable. I had a good time with it. Also, if you're trying to play this game alone, I kind of mixed back and forth. I did one playthrough with people. I did one playthrough without people. I mixed it up a little bit. You can play the game by yourself. You're definitely missing out on not playing with other people, but it's possible to play the campaign by yourself. It is possible to do so. So let's talk about some of the issues with the game that I had. There's a couple of them. Now keep in mind, there's no like deal breakers that I had in terms of issues, but these are issues I was seeing with the game. First of all, there's no dedicated servers. Dedicated servers should have been a must. Like they poured a lot of money into this game, and they're going to get a lot of money back. And the fact that they still don't have dedicated servers in 2017 is crazy. The story was paced a little more like Destiny 1 should have been. Like they hold your sparrow. You don't get a sparrow unless you get lucky with the drop until the end of the game. And you're like, oh, that would have been something you should have done in Destiny 1, not in Destiny 2. Also, big issue is microtransactions. They don't really feel forced, but it does offer game balancing mods. it can change the game, but you do get, it's fairly generous. It's a little more of an Overwatch system, rather. You get these loot crates, and loot crates will open up and give you more options, and you can put those in there, and you get those by completing levels, or you can buy them, and you get those immediately. And yeah, not a big fan. Also, shaders are now consumables. These are things that before used to be you had one, you applied it, that was it, and you could take it off and put it on back at will. Doesn't matter. Now it's a consumable. You put it on, if you take it off, it's gone. That's it. Now you can bind it to more than one item, but yeah, it's still there to really kind of push the microtransaction part of the story. Some final thoughts about the game. Destiny 1 is definitely a soft reboot for the franchise, fixing almost every single issue from Vanilla Destiny. The only mistakes they made are really kind of self-inflicted, which this time around, which is relatively minor, like with shaders and 4-man Crucible stuff and things like that. It's minor issues, really. As usual, the game is more fun with friends, but Destiny 2 is a decent time alone. Bungie finally remembered how to make a campaign, although it's kind of short, but not really. It makes a world of difference, though. It definitely feels like an extended DLC to me, but that's just my opinion. So the verdict, I normally rate these games based on a price, not points based. I base it on the value of the product as a whole. So like for context, I gave Destiny 1 like $20 for me, because the goal of the system is to tell you what price I think would be fair and a price I would pick the game up for. So with Destiny 2, I feel like if you can find it for $40, I think that's a fair price. Only if you have friends to play with, you actually want to be social. If not, you only want to do single player missions and stay by yourself, maybe $30, but you're really kind of missing the point of the game, honestly, at that point. Anyway, guys, that's kind of my general first impressions, informed first impressions. Remember, I played like 30 hours of the game. I'm still playing it. It's a fun time. I enjoy it. I'd say give it a shot. It's definitely worth your time. So anyway, guys, this is Anchorman signing out, and I hope you guys have a good break. See ya.